Happy New Year. I am currently in therapy and have been working through uh, some trauma. I have been in and out of hospitals for several years, probably starting in 2015. And anytime I went in, no one ever addressed what I was exposed to. And I'm not talking about my childhood, like, I'm talking about my adulthood. Um, some gross stuff. Uh, so I'm dealing with it in therapy, and I'm finally talking about it for the first time ever. And I'm kind of angry. I mean, this isn't the first time I've been angry over this, but I'm angry that those people pretend to be, psychologists or therapists or whatever, and don't address the underlying issue of what's wrong, and just slap a label on you, give you a pill, and call it a day. It's weird for me to actually talk about what is real in this world, and what traumatized me and what made me incredibly sick mentally. As in, I was like a zombie, you know, walking through this world. Like, I don't feel like I'm like any of you, and I think you're abusive, and just remembering people I met that were, and being stuck around them. Even now I get so fucking hurt by the obvious, like, I don't know. I'm learning about DID a lot, and how it gets misrepresented and, like, misdiagnosed. And I don't really care if somebody's gonna ask me what's wrong with me. Like, can you figure it out? Like, something's wrong. And maybe it's not my fault. Maybe somebody fucking hurt me and it got the best of me, and that's it. Like, leave it at that, you know? And I did the best I could to cope with the things I've seen, the things I've been through, the people who physically hurt me, mentally, whatever. And, you know, smiling through it is the most, like, that's DID. That's dissociative identity disorder, where you're shutting off parts of you that make you want to stick up for yourself. Instead, you're just like, like a freaking. And it just bothers me that I remember I was recently in the hospital, and the guy hypnotized me, and it really pissed me off when I kind of woke up to it, because I was like, I've heard this before, and I kind of remember this, and I thought I was losing my mind. I'm like, nah, they don't do that, but he did. And it really bothers me. I remember sleeping through it. And then I remember some other things that happened. And it's like, I can't talk about this because people take advantage when your mind is weak. I'll just say that. People take advantage. So, anyways, what I can say is, if you look into some stuff from the 90s, uh, there's a book called The Franklin Scandal. You can start there and realize that there are predators in this world who become those doctors, who become cops, who become, even military, in order to, or a politician even, in order to take advantage of somebody. And I feel stupid because I'm an adult. It's like, as a kid, you don't have that, like, ability to say no, but as an adult, you should, and you should know better. So it bothers me that somebody really got the best of me like that. And I had a memory of some things that I did when I lived in New York, and it was like I was so manipulated for a long time. And, it's a lifestyle I was living that was gross, just completely gross. And the people that were persuading me in my life made me feel like what I I was their child. I was their I was safe, and I wasn't safe. So I'm not going to go into the details of all of that, but I will eventually when I feel better, when I feel more, when I feel safe to talk about it and not feel like somebody's going to be like, "Oh, you're lying," or, you're imagining things, or what the fuck ever. You're delusional or some stupid crap where I'm not. So, if you look up that scenario, I tried to defend myself back in 2015 before I was in psych ward after psych ward after psych ward and was like, "Oh, this is not happening," but it is happening. I was adamant about proving that it's possible to have your mind fragmented and, you be like kind of hypnotized to um like you're on drugs but you're not. It's like you're not even you, you're just somebody's puppet. So I it took me all these years, and my therapist now, everything is different because I feel like I've been released from the what I call persuaders in my life that would convince me that things were normal that were not good for me. Um, Friendships, relationships, acquaintances, just wrong people in my life that were very controlling. And I get angry, and I did stand up for myself a lot, and it did put me in jail, and I didn't care because I was like, you know what? You got the best of me. Like, I am not this person. I don't deserve this. And I let myself make a mess of what I was programmed to be, which sounds crazy, but if you do the research, be glad it's not you. Just be glad it's not you, because I wasn't always that way. I just remember being like in a fog at this job I worked at, and like so hypnotized. I don't know if you're familiar with like ASMR and music that makes you so relaxed. And I had these scripts I had to say, and the more I did these things, the further it got me into this like abyss of crazy in my life. And there's a great book called The Lost Girls, or Lost Girls or whatever. It's also a documentary on Netflix about girls that were in the sex trafficking industry in New York. And I knew girls like that, and I was dying living there. I was like, I gotta get out of here. So those girls did not survive. So that's the goal, is like not to persecute the people who do these things, because they're never going to change, but to survive it is my goal. And to say, like, you may have used me, my body, my mind, and my soul, and made me believe in, fairy tales and love and all that crap, while using me completely and getting away with it. Like, but at the end of the day, I'm going to survive. I'm going to live a long time. And I'm not going to pull a Marilyn Monroe on my life, where that's the end result of women who work in a horrifying industry like that. I did not work in an industry like that. I was forced into it and hauled ass every time somebody tried to put me in that situation. I snuck away, you know. I had watched my friends do it. I'd see them lie to themselves, and I would want to shake them. Like, this is not, you are not, you're Cinderella right now, is what you are. Like, this isn't, this is evil. So, anyways, I figured I'd get all of this out. And I did mention stalkers because years ago I had kind of like a normal following on Facebook, and now it's just 1,000 freaking dudes. And I'm like, somebody in my life programmed me to accept that as flattery when it's not at all. It's disgusting. It's like, what do you want? So I saw that, and I'm like, I'm not reopening my social media accounts. I'm going to do this differently. And I'm not going to trust women or men. Women, you're such like the betrayal that you're a woman and you would put a woman through this is horrifying. But I'm not gonna trust any of that anymore, that this is gonna end with like a happy ending with marriage and kids and da 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 da. No, it's not. I'm going to survive, but I'm not gonna believe the lie anymore that there's a fairy tale ending. There's not. It's gross. So if you read about, like, for example, the Franklin scandal, Paul Benassi was a victim of that and did have his mind, warped. It is programming. Like, leaving a cult, you deprogram. And it's the same thing when somebody's controlling your identity, I want to say. You have to get help, because when I tried to talk about it back in 2015, I was like re-hypnotized, I want to say. So that went on consistently in my life. Like, I was just like a shell of a person, it was more like play the part, and it got worse and worse and worse. And I realized, like, the more I tried to break free of it, the harder it got, until I asked for help. I was like, this is my life. I shouldn't be living this way, and somebody is controlling me. I had to be honest. And it's scary to say that, because to anybody in the world, like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, But it's real, and it happens. And like I said, like, in Jonestown Massacre, why would all those people drink the Kool-Aid and go to sleep? Because somebody was that charismatic. Somebody is that controlling. Somebody is that powerful, in a sense. They're good at what they do. So that's the therapy I tried to get 4 years ago, before I had my kid. It wasn't really that helpful, because it was more like cope, just find your alters through this system, DID, and cope with it. So I was coping, but at the same time I got pregnant, and like all kinds of craziness happened, and I was shocked by it, and my alters were like furious that, like, I got taken advantage of. That's how I felt, and I still feel that way. And I have to deal with my ex said, I can't deal with your multiple personalities. And I was like, well, you knew meeting me when you first met me, like, you knew I had some issues. And some people don't realize. They think they can go, and that person's gonna be whatever I want them to be. sadly, that's the world. The way that, like, even when I do this, it scares me because somebody did that to me so many times while I was sleeping. They did this and programmed me a lot, and it was sickening. And I don't want to talk about it. I'll talk about it in therapy, but like the things that I was doing made no sense. And it's like, you should be analyzed for wanting to do that to somebody, not me. Like, somebody that I would consider a narcissist of some type, a sociopath, or what have you, of like somebody that's got to control somebody and make them compliant with their wishes. Oh, God, it's pretty bad. So, anyways, one of my therapists talked about a cult and said, that's probably what's going on here and how you need to address it. And it is deprogramming and leaving for good and not going back. So, for me, it's the type of people that are human traffickers, sex traffickers, get paid to, sell you. For me to talk about this is very hard to do because the people who do these things have no conscience whatsoever. The people who hide it, make a living off of it, don't see you as a human being. I see you as an object. You're for sale, and that's it. We're done here. Get out. Do what you do, And for me, it was always, sometimes I had to, and sometimes I fought back. So fighting back was getting help from other women that had the same problem, or men. Some men are forced into the same lifestyle. So when I would meet men like that who were really attractive, and I was like, I kind of know what you're going through. Like, I can see this, and you're coming out of it. And I'm like, oh, like, I totally get it. It's not going to get easier. And I realized that for myself when I saw them. I was like, oh, like, somebody's always going to want you because you're built this way. You're built like the fantasy that somebody wants, and you're easy, and you're, what have you. So I've never talked about these things, and I'm going to now because this really did happen to me, and I was controlled for a long time, and it's never going to change, but you can take your power back. You can take your power back because once you realize, sadly, the people who programmed you to be what they wanted, you can kind of reprogram yourself to be an influence to somebody, I want to say, in a positive way. It's not easy. I'm working on it. It takes a long time. They say it takes several years to deal with this kind of thing. And to act like it, I'm furious with the people close to me. Furious that found this amusing. When it comes to a cult, if you're the last one there, do you have to drink the Kool-Aid? No. Go hide until you can get the fuck out. I'm just going to say that.